questions. So we've gathered this morning on the eve of the opening.
Estamos aquí reunidos hoy, el día antes de Gaura Purnima,
celebrating our Guru Parampara as it has come into our lives. Our Chaitanya Sangha and myself. So I appreciate all your.
se escucha fatal. Está diciendo algo sobre el Guru Parampara y el hecho que hoy es su Vyasa Puja.
Commitment to Mahaprabhu. Found a nice statement in Haribhakti Vilas from the Tattva that was inspiring. Some section of the text that deals with
Vamos a discutir una sección
the
del
nature
texto
of initiation and
que habla de la
imparting the
naturaleza de la
goodwill
iniciación
and spiritual insight, if you will, in mantra form in particular, on the part of the guru to the disciple. And therein, in the text,
en este texto de Sanatana Prabhu y Gopal Bhatta Goswami en el Haribhakti Vilas, un libro de notas, digamos, de hace 500 años. Hay una descripción de todas las cosas, todos los requisitos. A la hora de la iniciación, qué parte del día, qué meses van bien, qué dirección, en qué dirección estar, hacia qué dirección.
Which is very relative to our sampradaya and its strength and our particular parivar, our lineage within that sampradaya or community, of which there are a number of lineages. It speaks to us about its
hay muchos linajes.
In an essential sense, given the nature of the contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Considerando la naturaleza de la contribución de Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta y sus sucesores, incluido mi Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada y Sridhar Maharaj, ellos tenían poder espiritual extraordinario. Sin este poder,
the successful implementation and spreading of the dispensation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not be successful. Seems successful overall. All of us are the example of that from the international community. I was fortunate to be part of the fulfillment of the prophecy, one of the prophecies of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who said that there will come a day in the near future.
Había una profecía de Bhaktivinoda Thakur que decía que un día vendrá en el futuro donde una persona predicaría este mensaje en todo el mundo.
Named Bhaktisiddhanta Marg, the only road into Mayapur, and to come together and chant Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda.
Y esta persona es Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Hay la calle que entra a Navadvip se llama, o a Mayapur se llama Bhaktisiddhanta Road.
From Prabhupada's fledgling as it was at that time, Mayapur, Chandrodaya Mandir Temple, just a beginning of the construction. Nothing was complete. Maybe on his residence, he had moved from a straw hut into the first building, and we were housed in the same building.
Lo siento, pero solo puedo traducir lo que escucho.
Fortunate to do that, but anyway, as we proceeded along the path road from the Preguntas Mandir to the Yoga Pith, to the birth site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was discovered by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and chanted Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda.
Entonces yo tuve la suerte de ser parte de esta profecía cuando con muchos devotos internacionales entramos a Mayapur en el Bhaktisiddhanta Marg cantando Jai Satchidananda, justo como en la profecía. Y los aldeanos salían de sus casas con platos de dulces y se postraban ante el Nagar Sankirtan.
This was going on as we such things, another similar type of response to this extraordinary event in Mayapur Dham. So to have taken it all over the world, this is a contribution of our particular lineage within a larger conglomeration community, Sampradaya, or dispensation, formal dispensation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the verse, and I like this verse. Since attaining,
me gusta mucho este verso.
It's been preceded by so many things are required.
Recuerden que se han mencionado muchas cosas que son necesarias para la iniciación, y ahora dice,
even one meaning with true preceptors is rare. When one attains their consent, that is a great day for initiation.
Cuando uno logra
whether one is in a village,
el
in the
permiso
forest,
de uno,
or in a field,
es un
or
día muy
whether it is
importante,
day or night.
que esté en un campo,
When by
en
fate the
la
guru
calle, que sea
arrives,
de día o de noche,
when
cuando la fe
initiation
para el
comes by
guru
his
llegue,
order,
cuando la
when there is
iniciación llega por
desire
su orden
for
o su
that
deseo,
initiation on the part of the student, following the order of the guru, a holy place, a vow, a fire sacrifice, a
siguiendo las
bath,
órdenes del guru,
or recitations are never the causes of initiation.
o
It
sea, la
comes
causa
only
de la
when the true
iniciación
guru
nunca
appears
es
by his
una
own
arena
will.
sacrificial o una parte del día, solo viene
So
cuando,
with that, I'd like to
cuando la
speak
fe
a little
se
bit about
desarrolla en el discípulo y cuando el guru quiera dar
what we
iniciación.
refer to as the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Quiero hablar de
Gaudiya,
lo
of
que
course,
se
refers to
conoce como
Bengal,
el
refers to
Brahma Madhva
where
Gaudiya
Chaitanya
Sampradaya.
Mahaprabhu appeared and where his dispensation
Gaudiya se refiere a
was
Gauradesh, donde
initiated,
apareció Chaitanya
inaugurated.
Mahaprabhu, donde inauguró
And
el movimiento del Sankirtan.
Madhva, the other name in this
Madhva,
rather long title, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, refers, of course, to the great Madhvacharya, and he's
se
a
refiere al
historical
grande
person,
Madhvacharya,
as
que
is
es una
Chaitanya
personalidad
Mahaprabhu.
histórica,
And from the historical realm, we go to the mytho-historical realm,
y
and
de lo histórico pasamos
and
al
Brahma.
mito histórico, hablando de
So
Brahma.
Brahma Madhva Gaudiya
Brahma Madhva Gaudiya
Sampradaya.
Sampradaya.
So let's start with Brahma. Brahma is the head, forehead, head, if you will, of our
Brahma
Sampradaya.
es el jefe, el
As
que está
having
a cargo de
foreheads,
nuestro Sampradaya.
which means he's thought things out pretty well. And
Tiene
among
cuatro
other things,
cabezas,
and
entonces se lo pensó todo muy bien.
Many of our sacred texts, which there's no shortage of in Hinduism, speak about him, but three texts in particular are
Hay
pertinent
tres
to
textos en particular.
why it is or how it is that we
Hablan
connect
sobre el por qué
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lineage that we are all members of,
conectamos nuestro
with
linaje, el
Brahma.
de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Those
a
texts are,
Brahma.
of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Estos textos
The
son
and
el Srimad
this is from the
Bhagavatam.
Smriti, then of course Smriti means that which is remembered, Shruti means that which is heard.
Smriti es lo
Sounds
que
that
se
are
recuerda y Shruti quiere decir los que
in
se
the
escuchó.
womb of nature and heard through by introspection and blessing, and then
Escuchar a los
articulated
sentidos que son parte del vientre de
by
madre
those who have heard the
naturaleza y que
sounds
los que
that
pueden
are not the
escuchar,
origin of them, but who have heard them. We call that the Upanishads.
los
Upanishad.
sabios que pudieron escuchar estos
Upanishad means
sonidos,
to sit close.
lo compilaron como Upanishad.
To sit
Upanishad quiere
close
decir
literature.
siéntate cerca.
It means that this is not something that the general public will be interested in, first of all.
Quiere
or that
decir,
they
esto
could
no es algo en
understand,
que el
being
público
preoccupied
está
as they are
interesado
with
por lo
going
regular,
outward in pursuit of their fulfillment in life, which we
porque la
all
mayoría de
feel
la
in
gente
need of.
está en búsqueda
Feel some
de
lacking,
satisfacción
some
en su
need.
vida.
We feel there is a purpose. and
Sentimos, cada uno de nosotros siente que sí
a
hay
purpose for
un
ourselves, but what
propósito.
it is, we're trying to find it out, right? But mostly, as I say, the general public looks outward through acquisition. The idea
Pero
that by
la mayoría de la
acquiring,
gente lo hace a
that which
través de la
is lacking
adquisición.
will be fulfilled.
Tratan de
We will
adquirir
become more. Because this
cosas,
pursuit
objetos.
is
Entre más
blind
logren, más se
to
van
the
a sentir
fact that we
satisfechos,
are
así
the
piensan.
more.
Pero la
And
enseñanza es que nosotros
the
somos lo más
things
que vamos
that we
buscando.
might acquire are less at best. After all, they don't endure.
Y estas cosas, estos
Right, they're here
objetos que
today
vamos
and they're
persiguiendo son
gone
lo menos
tomorrow, if not the next day.
porque no duran, partiendo del hecho de que no duran.
It's
Están aquí hoy, mañana,
magical.
quién
It's an
sabe.
illusion that we have something. That we
Es
own
solo
something.
una ilusión la que tenemos
So
ahora.
this pursuit of the fulfillment that we feel in need of through acquisition.
Entonces
This is
esta búsqueda de
the preoccupation
satisfacción
of most people.
que tenemos
But to
a
turn
través
inward
de la adquisición
and
es una ilusión
and focus on the
que
fact that
tenemos
the
la
only
mayoría de
reason
nosotros.
that anything out there, if you will, matters because we think it matters. Matter doesn't matter unless we
Lo que
matter
está
about
afuera,
it.
en el mundo afuera, tiene importancia porque nosotros lo
So how
pensamos,
much more important
siempre y cuando nosotros le demos importancia.
are we? How much more valuable
Entonces, ¿cuánta importancia
are
tenemos
we who
nosotros
give the meaning?
que le damos
We invest
significado
meaning in matter,
a la
and then we
materia?
think it's meaningful. We are the fountain of meaning. It means that, well, what's out there, if you will,
Nosotros somos el significado. Lo que quiere decir es que lo que está afuera es
that which is asking about it, like what's out there, is qualitative.
Es cuantitativo y lo que está dentro de nosotros, el que se pregunta sobre la naturaleza, es cualitativo.
To explain, to understand.
Es un tema muy complicado.
It is the understander. It is the explainer. That we're a little displaced.
El que trata de entender
So it's difficult to
es lo mismo que lo puede explicar, lo mismo que lo puede
science and in the world since forever. It's not an old dusty topic in a dusty
entender. Y este conocimiento existe desde siempre, no es algo que se encuentra en un libro viejo lleno de polvo. Es lo que pasa a menudo, todo el rato. La gente se pregunta sobre el significado de la vida, de la realidad, sobre lo que hay allá afuera.
And that qualitative nature of the self and consciousness, of course, this is the subject of the Upanishads that says, come and sit close.
Entonces los Upanishads dicen, siéntate cerca y te voy a decir un secreto.
We are preoccupied largely in the world with exploiting nature for a humanly conceived
Nosotros estamos por lo más interesados en
We
explotar
learn
la
from the
naturaleza.
sacred text that just kind of common sense. That if you love someone, then they'll share their secrets with you.
Si nosotros amamos
You
a
love
alguien,
someone, and
ellos nos
you'll
van a
know that's the way
compartir
of
todos sus
knowing. Loving is
secretos.
the way of knowing. Hmm?
Y amar es una
So
forma
if
de
we approach
conocer.
nature differently, which is of course what the whole karma marg, the
Si
path of
nosotros nos
karma,
acercamos a la naturaleza de
in
forma
Hinduism is
diferente, que
about,
es todo lo que
honor nature.
es el método del karma marga y del jnana marga,
Broadly speaking, then through dharma jignasa, inquiring as to the nature
a
of
través
dharma.
del dharma
Time
jignasa,
here
la
means
curiosidad
purpose.
que tenemos
What is the
sobre
purpose of nature
el dharma, cuál es el propósito de la
in relation to
naturaleza
me and so forth? So
en relación a mí.
if you inquire how to conduct oneself
Si nos preguntamos sobre cómo
accordingly,
comportarnos
dharmically,
de forma dhármica,
and you proceed to do so as is mandated or suggested, really mandated, if you want to do, here's how you do,
y
in the sacred
procedemos
texts,
comportándonos,
then you end up doing
así como
things
lo
that,
dicen los
well,
textos
you're not
sagrados.
sure if they make sense. If you come from a culture where that doesn't, it's not part of it. Of course, you ask that question, and I wonder sometimes it makes sense when I'm doing my mind was there. If you were from India, you probably wouldn't think like that. To go to art teachers. Yeah. My parents used to do that, and their parents did that too. So, but of course, we can give the sense to it, the reason to it, the purpose. Well, the value of trans-rational exercises, and this is not just a cultural affair.
Estos son
of India.
ejercicios
Every culture
transracionales,
has
no es algo cultural,
trans-rational approach to knowing
es un método
in ways that
para
reason
conocer
alone cannot
que
afford
va más
us.
allá de la razón, de
That
nuestro poder
recognizes
intelectual.
culture that recognizes the limitations
Y
of
una
reason
cultura que reconoce los límites de la
then
razón
pursues a transrational means for knowing, knows more.
y que persigue métodos
Right.
transracionales
So
para
it's reasonable
conocer,
to
conoce
conclude
más.
that reason has its limitations in terms of providing an ultimate and comprehensive way of knowing by which I can be fulfilled. We want a perfect way of knowing by which we can become perfectly happy. So we can do the things that will make us perfectly happy. Okay? So this is the basic, I'd say, wisdom of the Upanishads, and everybody's not in a teachable moment. They're going
No todo
100
el
miles
mundo
an
está
hour
lleno
in the
para
opposite
que se les
direction.
enseñe.
They may, as a result of that, have a cathartic effect and think this isn't working, right? And then a moment may be created, a teachable moment, however it comes about, at any rate. So the Upanishads is a nice term. Sit closely. It means sit closely, and I'll tell you a secret. Nature has a
Los
secret.
Upanishads quiere decir siéntate
Its
cerca
secret
para
is
que te
that
pueda
it
decir un
has a soul.
secreto. El secreto,
And if you want to open that up a little more, it's you. It's
es
us.
que
This is
existe el alma y este
this is,
alma eres tú, somos
extraordinary.
nosotros.
Right. So the Upanishads are there to tell us about that. And in a broad way, they say that if you're looking for God, look no further. Look at yourself.
Y a veces nos dicen que si
That
estamos
which most
buscando a
resembles
Dios,
God,
no busques más
or
allá
your source, let's say, in the world, is you.
de ti mismo, porque
So
lo que se
consciousness
parece más a Dios en
is
todo el
not
mundo
like
material
anything. It's
eres tú.
So God is like that, and a little bit different also, because God, our source, doesn't find itself or himself in the position that we are in, wondering about himself. Well, he does in higher sense. That's another thing. That is the full face of the Godhead, Krishna, wondering about himself in existential crisis, in the face of the love of his beloved, right? But anyway, we find ourselves troubled
De todo modo,
in a
nosotros
less
nos
charming
encontramos
sense, right? Although we are
confundidos.
consciousness, so we were like God, but we're different, right? So, of the texts that we refer to, which Brahma, head of our Sampradaya, and the origins of it are discussed.
Entonces, volviendo a Brahma como origen de nuestro Sampradaya,
Gopal Tapani, one of the 100
el Gopal
Upanishads.
Tapani Upanishad,
Gopal Tapani.
uno de los Upanishads principales.
Tapa it means light.
Tapa quiere decir
It
luz.
means tapa, austerity.
También
These things go
austeridad.
together.
Estas
As I was
cosas
saying
van
earlier,
juntas.
if our senses are
Si nuestros
preoccupied with
sentidos
sense objects, sights, sounds, things to touch, feeling,
están ocupados por los
tactile,
objetos de los sentidos, lo que
and so
podemos
forth.
tocar, ver,
The
etc.
more that our
etcétera.
senses are preoccupied with sense objects,
En la medida en
more
que
our
nuestros sentidos están
introspection
ocupados con los objetos de los sentidos, más
is
nuestra
recedes to the
introspección
background.
se va.
And when our senses are deprived, even
A
involuntarily,
esconder. Y cuando nuestros
of
sentidos
contact with sense
se
objects,
quedan
let's say they get
privados
kidnapped
del
by
contacto
terrorists
con
or
los
something,
objetos de los sentidos,
solitary confinement, so you're
digamos, alguien
relatively
que está en
deprived
una prisión
comparatively. You don't have the
sin
internet,
luz,
your phone is not there.
sin teléfono, sin
You're
sonido, sin
deprived.
palabras, sin personas.
And so how you what happens is you start to think more. You start to become more
Entonces,
introspective.
cuando
You
uno está
resolve,
en
you seek to
aislamiento
solve
confinado,
problem that
se
you're
pone
in
a pensar
by
más,
philosophizing about it, thinking
se pone
about
a pensar de
those
forma
things weren't everything
filosófica sobre
anyway.
su
And
condición.
it's said that the quality of life does not depend upon really necessarily where you are.
Se dice que la calidad de la vida no depende necesariamente de donde estemos,
It's how you think about it.
sino de lo que opinamos sobre nuestra vida.
So, therefore, austerity, in terms of meaning tapa,
Entonces, la
also means
austeridad,
light.
así como
So
quiere
in
decir,
light,
o sea,
illumination,
tapa, así como quiere
insight,
decir austeridad, quiere
insight that
decir
will not
luz,
surface
quiere decir realización,
to the extent,
una
will not
realización
surface to the extent that
que
you
no
are
sube a la
preoccupied
superficie
with
mientras estemos,
this
siempre y cuando estemos
pursuit of acquisition. Anita
interesados
says it very
en la
nicely.
adquisición a nivel sensorial.
Boga Aishvarya, Boga Aishvarya, Prasaktanam Teaprita Chetasam, Vyavasayatmika Bhugi Eke, Samado Navidhi. Boga Aishvarya. Boga means enjoying the sense
Bhoga dice
objects with the senses.
Bhoga quiere decir disfrutar los objetos de los
and the
sentidos.
things that you acquire from that appear to make you better off, wealthy, more powerful.
Cuando pensamos en estas cosas que al lograrla vamos a ser
whatever
más felices.
balance, Aishvarya, my power, and I can enjoy with it. Boga Aishvarya Prasaktam Teaprita Chetasam. When one is preoccupied, to the extent to which one is preoccupied, then Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, this one-mindedness.
Cuando uno tiene una concentración, cuando su mente está en un solo punto, que es lo que se requiere para el progreso espiritual. Solo tenemos que conocer a una cosa, y es la única cosa que estamos persiguiendo, nuestro ser.
What were you looking for? You should ask. What is the most used word in any language? Let's use English. Okay.
¿Cuál es la palabra más usada en la lengua inglesa?
It's the smallest, one of the smallest words.
Es una de las más
It's made of
pequeñas.
one letter. What is it? I.
Yo.
This is the most used word, the most important word. Everyone is concerned with I. What am I? Why am I?
¿Qué es lo que soy? ¿Quién soy?
That's what we're looking for. Because you're not going to find it on the moon.
Esto no lo vamos a encontrar en la luna. La respuesta no la vamos a encontrar en la luna. La pregunta es cómo vamos a llegar.
Passage to the moon. But to go in It doesn't cost anything.
Pero para ir hacia el interior no nos cuesta nada. No
It's
nos
free
hace
in that
falta
sense.
Elon
You're
Musk.
free to pursue that, and no one can stop you.
Y nadie nos
No
puede
one can
parar.
stop you. Only you can prevent yourself.
Solo nosotros nos podemos parar.
If you turn inward, and this is what Brahma did in Gopal Tapani. Tapani means austerity.
Y esto es lo que pasa en el Gopal Tapani. Tapani quiere decir austeridad.
Text sheds light on Gopal. It's a name for Krishna. We'll have to talk about that.
Gopal es un nombre de Krishna.
Brahma, as described in another text, the Bhagavad, which is Shruti Saramikam, it's a Smriti text after what was heard, thinking about it and saying something, although at the same time, it is essentially the essence of all the Shruti. Shruti Saram. Saram means cream, essence of the Shruti. Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Samhita. These are three books where Brahma's as the fountainhead of our Sampradaya.
Y el Gopal Tapani son los tres libros donde se ve que Brahma está a cabo de nuestro Sampradaya.
There we find in these texts, all of them, that Brahma is performing austerity.
Ahí vemos en todos estos textos que Brahma está haciendo austeridades.
Engaged in to put it another way, in sacrifice.
Penitencias para, sacrificios.
The taking and giving of himself in an effort to source. And of course, this kind of pursuit, as I say, you're free to do that. And as we do it earnestly, then
y todo el mundo está libre de hacerlo, volver hacia el interior. Y en la medida que lo hacemos, las respuestas van a venir. Y la luz también. Esto es lo que le pasó a Brahma.
His austerity was really, it's further understood in Bhakti itself. Inwardly, anyway, introspectively, he pursued his source, and the source appeared before him in the form of Gopal Krishna.
En el caso de Brahma, la respuesta se presentó ante él como Gopal Krishna.
And there, as it's explained in all three of these texts that I'm referring to, Krishna imparted the mantra to him. Gave him some advice.
Y Brahma le dio el mantra y unos consejos.
And overall, he was informed that what you see now,
y Krishna le informó de que lo que ves ahora,
my form,
mi forma,
it involves and so forth,
y todo lo que involucra,
and you have union and relationship with me through
lo vas a realizar y vas a tener unión y una relación conmigo a través de este mantra. Entonces el mantra no es diferente. Bueno, en este caso, del que se lo dio, Bhagavan. Bhagavan es Dios. Entonces Brahma recibió el mantra. Gopal mantra que no es diferente de Gopal mismo.
As I say, this history, if you will, is played out in the different texts. There's a little
Esta historia se ve en diferentes textos.
It might be a little confusing if one
podría
looks
ser algo
superficially at the
confuso
Bhagavatam, which we're told not to do.
Uno se fija en el Bhagavatam de forma superficial, que es lo que nos dicen que no hagamos.
You know the story I'd like to tell about what it means to have an education. It was thought in India that father sent his son to Benares to get an education. And he came back and he said, so you got an education. Which is
la famosa historia que siempre les digo del padre que le dijo al hijo que se vaya a Benares para lograr una instrucción,
Then you don't have an
una
education.
educación.
So go back to the
Luego
Bhagavad,
volvió, le
you study the
dijo,
Bhagavatam alone,
aprendiste
then
todos
you're
los shastras, sí,
ready. So you
aprendiste el Bhagavatam, no,
came back
vuelve
and
a
said, oh,
Benares.
now I know why he's doing
Luego
that.
volvió otra
It's that
vez y
protocol.
volvió, y el padre dijo,
It's an
ahora
it's
aprendiste el
a
Bhagavatam, y él
physical
dijo,
education.
sí,
So Bhagavad
es un
said, so
libro
you
muy,
understood
muy,
Bhagavatam. He said,
muy
yes.
importante.
Go
Entonces,
back.
si lo entendiste, sí,
Study it
entonces
again and
vuelves,
think you
que vuelvas
understood. So
a
again he went back
Varanasi
again and studied
y lo estudias
Bhagavatam.
otra
He
vez, y
returned
luego
second
volvió otra
time.
vez el
So I
hijo
said,
y
so
dije,
you
entonces
understood Bhagavatam?
estudiaste el Bhagavatam otra vez,
Yes, and
sí,
I understood why
y
you
lo
told me to go back the
entendiste.
second time.
Y él dijo, lo que entendí
What
es que
I
nunca se
thought I
puede
understood the
entender el
first time
Bhagavatam
without understood.
completamente.
After studying the
Entonces
second
el
time,
padre le
yes.
dijo,
So
ahora sí has
now you
entendido el
understand.
Bhagavatam.
Yes, now we understand. So go back to Banaras, you study the Bhagavatam. So bewildered, he went back, he studied it again, he returned. Baba said, so did you study Srimad Bhagavatam? Third time? Yes. Did you understand? He said, I cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Baba said, now you understood Srimad Bhagavatam. It's beyond that, it doesn't fit between the ears, but it
El Bhagavatam no es algo que cabe entre nuestras orejas, o sea, en la cabeza.
It's often, it can cause the head to function in such a way as to soften the heart, if you will. So there, we're told to study the Bhagavatam again and again. That's the praise you about Nityam Bhagavad Seva. Again and again, study Bhagavatam.
El Bhagavatam es algo que hay que estudiar una y otra vez.
So from a superficial reading of Bhagavatam, it may appear,
entonces, de una lectura superficial del Bhagavatam, aparece que no fue Krishna que apareció y le dio el mantra a Brahma, sino Narayan, bueno, Mahavishnu, que es su fuente.
But of course we are saved from that misconception by the work of our acharyas such as Jiva Goswami and Krishna Sundar, who's
pero
gone into
nuestros
great detail
acharyas
explaining why this may sound like Narayan, but look at this, look at
nos
this.
salvaron de esta errada concepción, ilustrando como parece que están describiendo el
And let's
libro,
refer
pero
as well to Brahma's
fíjense en este
and
detalle,
to
en el otro,
Gopal where it's more clearly
y ahí
presented.
uno se
So,
puede dar
course,
cuenta que en realidad era Krishna.
what's an example of what I'm saying? Well,
Un ejemplo de lo que estoy diciendo,
Atato Brahma Jignasu, right? Janmadhyasya Dayadi Tarata Charte Shubhaviknasa. Tene Brahma Vidayadi Kavye. Tene Brahma Vidayadi. It's right in the first verse of the Bhagavatam.
se encuentra justo en el primer verso del Bhagavatam,
In the heart of Brahma, Krishna,
en el corazón de Brahma,
I say, awakened, revealed the essence of
Krishna despertó y reveló la esencia
what the nature of ultimate reality.
de la naturaleza de la
What do we
realidad
find later in
última.
the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, Brahma Vimohan Lila? There,
Lo que encontramos después en el Brahma Vimohana Lila,
as to Krishna's two Bhagavan, he the source.
ahí se ve que Krishna es tu Bhagavan Soyam, que Krishna es la fuente de todos los Narayan que más se manifestaron desde él.
Oh, they're all about Rag Bhakti. It's not something Narayan would be instructing.
Y todos los mantras que Brahma recibió son algo de Raga Bhakti, no es algo, no es una instrucción que Vishnu Narayan daría.
So Brahma was enlightened by Krishna with regard
Entonces, Brahma
to Braj Bhakti.
recibió la
Later we
iluminación
find him,
desde
again we
Krishna
go to
con
the 10th canto
respecto
of the Bhagavatam,
a
we
la
find
Braja
him in
Bhakti.
Mohan Lila.
Luego del Brahma Vimohana Lila,
Very
hay
central
3
to the Bhagavatam.
capítulos
This is the
muy
Lila narrative
céntricos
in which
en el Bhagavatam,
the position of Krishna as the fountainhead of all divinity is revealed and explained. And Brahma with his 4 heads, he got it.
y Brahma con todas sus
They were
4
spinning,
cabezas, al final se enteró
what Krishna showed him, right?
de lo que Krishna le
There,
enseñó.
when Brahma arrived
Allí cuando Brahma
with
llegó
a plan of his own,
con un plan
he
que
was
tenía,
unaware of the fact that he was actually on Krishna's agenda.
él no
And Krishna
sabía
brought him
que
there
él, Brahma, era
for
parte del
reasons
plan
of
de
his own
Krishna,
to further instruct through example Brahma further from what he instructed him at the dawn of creation when he imparted
Krishna
the mantra,
tenía
to give him some
la
siksha
intención de darle
in
más
support of
shiksha
the
a
diksha
Brahma
that he shared
desde
with
la
him
última
through
vez
the
en la
imparting of the
creación del
mantra.
mundo.
He imparted the mantra, and at that time,
Primero le
there in
dio el
Bhagavatam
mantra
explained, Krishna told him,
y
so,
seguidamente
I
en
bless you,
el
you may have a
contexto del
relationship
Brahma
with me
Vimohan
in
Lila.
Sakya, in friendship.
No, porque dice que durante la
So,
origen del universo, Krishna se manifestó a
here's
Brahma, le
God
dio el
saying that,
mantra
giving a
y
mantra,
le
what does it mean?
dijo,
How does it work?
vas a
So
tener una
after
relación
some
conmigo
time,
y
not
esta
right away,
relación
he
es
didn't give him
Sakyaras.
Siddha Pranali on day one.
No le dio Siddha Pranali en el primer día.
He didn't give him instructions and advice
No le
that was
dio
beyond his level of
instrucciones y
eligibility.
consejos más allá
But
de su
after he
nivel de
after he chanted
cualificación,
the mantra and he
sino le dijo
practiced
que
and so
cantara el
forth,
mantra y que
in time,
practicara.
his guru, Krishna, appeared to him again.
Y luego, seguidamente,
But
su
not
guru Krishna
like
apareció
this. Oh,
otra
here's the
vez,
mantra.
pero no
Yes, he's dressed like a
como,
gopa, but at least he's talking like a sadhu, a sage.
claro,
But if
durante
you want
el
friendship,
principio
well,
del
it's hard to
universo
have
se
friendship with a guy
manifestó con su
sitting
forma
up
de
here on the
gopa,
seat.
pero le
Like,
dio instrucciones
problem.
védicas. Ahora es un
Sannyas of Chaitanya
pastorcillo
Mahaprabhu, as much as it is the
en
benediction for us,
Brindavan
is the
que
problem
no
for
se
his
parece a
friends.
Dios.
Going to treat you differently. You're going to wear a different color than everybody else. We have to keep a little bit distance, which is according to the Dharma, out of respect. It's a problem. So Brahma couldn't understand it at
Y
first.
Brahma
But,
no pudo
yeah, I
entender
mean,
en
the
principio
form of which Krishna appeared in and the way he
esta forma de
conducted himself
pastorcillo en la que Krishna
didn't blend
apareció y
to the
cómo se
full face
comportó,
of what friendship
no
is about, which is really equality, equals. And in friendship,
no
sometimes
calzaba con la
you serve your friend and
relación
sometimes
de
your friend
amistad
serves you.
donde dos personas son iguales.
So have that type of intimate rapport with God, this is very different than the Greek, agape, so different than eros or any other type of love
Es
in
un
this
tipo
world.
de amor
But
diferente de
Vaishnavism
como lo
brings it
analizaban los
full
griegos
circle.
o cualquier otro análisis del amor.
Anyway, he brought him to Vrindavan, right? He showed him his
Entonces
Gopa
Krishna
Vesh
hizo
in
que
full,
Brahma apareciera en Brindavan y que viera a Krishna en su forma completa
fully engaging
de Gopa,
in friendship
interactuando con sus
with his
amigos
cowherd associates, in intimacy. Right?
de forma
Instead
muy
of having
íntima
his
con
hand
los
like this and
pastorcillos.
blessing him, he had some rice and fruit in his left hand.
Cuando
and
lo
was
vio
taking it
Brahma,
out
Krishna
with his
tenía
right hand,
como una
eating
bola
it,
de
and
arroz
putting it in
mezclado
his friend's
con
mouth.
yogur y fruta
And
y lo
as they
estaba
were
comiendo
tasting
con la
something, they
mano
were taking it out of
izquierda.
their mouth. As soon as they tasted it, they said, "Oh, this is first class stuff.
Y como hacen los amigos,
Krishna.
compartían la comida
They were
que
one in a
había sido
sense.
tocada por
My tongue,
la
this is
boca de
very
otros
good. I should give it to my other
pastorcillos.
tongue. Yeah,
Los
Krishna's
pastorcillos
tongue.
decían, uy, este es muy bueno.
This one is
Y
second best. I'll give
aunque
it to my
ya
friend.
hubiesen empezado a
This third
comerlo,
best.
se lo
I'll
daban
keep
a
that.
Krishna.
And everybody
Porque
had different preferences, so
eso es lo
everybody.
que pensaban, es tan bueno que
One
Krishna
thought this
tiene
was
que
best,
probarlo. No
and
pensaron,
that was best.
Krishna tiene que
So
ser el primero
Brahmas
en
comes in
gozar
on the
cualquier
scene and he
cosa.
thinks, looks like that's an imposter.
Y
Looks
Brahma
like my
pensó
guru,
que
but my
este tiene
guru
que
didn't
ser un
act like
impostor.
that.
Mi guru no, mi guru Krishna nunca se
He
comportaría de
understood
esa forma.
Sakshat Hari Tena Samasta Shastra. All the scriptures say my guru is God himself.
Brahma había entendido.
However,
Sakshat Hari
dear to
Tena
God. How can
Samasa
he be God
Shastra.
and be dear to God?
Las escrituras dicen que el guru es Dios mismo.
So he understood the first line.
Entonces él había entendido la primera línea del verso de Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Great causes move back a little bit. I remember the first time Prabhupada was
Les voy a
standing next
contar
to
una
him,
cosa.
saying,
Me acuerdo la primera vez
and he was giving the class, and he
que
said, "So,
vi a Prabhupada enfrente
Guru is
de
the
pie
incarnation
ante mí
of
en Los Ángeles.
Krishna's mercy. Standing next to him.
Él dijo
I
que
knew it, but I'm
el
hearing
guru
say
es
it
la
like that, and very
manifestación de
powerful.
la compasión de
Filled the
Krishna,
whole
lo que
room
ya
up
sabía, pero
with
oyéndolo de su boca me dio mucho más poder.
So Sakshat Hari Tena.
Entonces,
Samasta
Sakshat Hari
Shastra
Tena
is
Samasta
echoed throughout
Shastra,
all the scriptures. Right?
todas las
But
escrituras.
Kintu, however, Kintu
Quinto quiere decir pero también el guru es querido a los ojos de Krishna.
but internally he is or she is a devotee.
Entonces, el gurú es Dios para nosotros, pero internamente él o ella es un devoto.
So now he's Brahma seeing Krishna, as described in the Bhagavatam, fully engaged in
Ahora,
Sakya-rasa with his
Brahma
friends.
ve a Krishna completamente.
And it's the second part of Vishwanath's verse. He's coming
sumergido en este
in
Sakya-rasa.
contact with them in a practical sense. I mean, obviously, he wasn't thinking of this verse, but the implication of the verse, right? Kintu prabodhya priyatasya. He's seeing the bhav, guru in terms of his bhav, and he's seeing this sthayi bhav of Sakya in this instance. He's seeing
Entonces, en este contexto, Brahma está viendo el Sthai Bhava
Krishna as the object also of that love,
donde Krishna es
as
el
well as the
objeto
friends
del
who
Sthai
are
Bhava de
shelter
los
of love
Parsarsitas.
personified. He's seeing all the ingredients of Bhakti Rasa, of the Sakya variety.
Él vio todos los ingredientes de este Sakya-rasa.
And of course, so he gets second and powerful installment of Siksha, if you will, to fortify his practice of chanting the mantra, which is what the practice is all about. Yeah. How much later did he get this kind of information? Like I said, he didn't get to sit at Pranali on day one.
Entonces, como ven,
Guru says,
esta segunda parte de las instrucciones de Krishna, Brahma no la recibió durante la creación del universo, sino mucho más después. Mucho después.
I don't know. My guru didn't tell me. Problem.
Hay devotos que se sienten como que si tienen un problema porque el guru a la hora de la iniciación no les dio su swarupa. El problema es el discípulo que se pregunta esas cosas, porque el preguntarse esta cosa demuestra la falta de elegibilidad que tenemos.
This is a higher end, obviously, of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. If talking about consciousness,
Si hablando
and
de
the
conciencia,
fact that you're not the body, to use like a mantra of Prabhupada, you're not
y
that body.
sabemos que no somos el cuerpo, que era algo que Prabhupada repetía como un mantra.
If
No
this
eres el
itself
cuerpo, no eres el cuerpo.
is a secret,
Si esto,
hidden in the
esta misma
Upanishads,
cosa es un secreto en
what
los
does the Gita
Upanishads,
say? Arjuna,
¿qué
Krishna tells
dice el
Arjuna,
Gita?
Traigunya Vishaya Veda,
Traigunya
Distrae
Vishaya
Gunya
Veda,
Bhavarjuna.
distrae Gunya Bhavarjuna.
Nirvana to Sattva-Story Yoga Chema. He said, most of the Vedas are
La mayoría,
3/4 of it at least is all
tres
dealing with
cuartos de los Vedas
what's out there and how to
hablan
get it.
solo de lo que está
Giving you
afuera y
license
cómo
to take.
lograrlo. Nos dan
You pay a
permiso
fee,
de
you can
lograr
take.
de forma védica.
This is the karma mark. You pay a
Este
fee,
es el karma marga.
sacrifice, you do this, you do it this way,
Pagamos,
this way, this way, and then you can get that through a magical sacrifice.
hacemos un
Mantra
pago con un
chanting,
sacrificio
whatever may be the
védico.
procedure, right? Interestingly, and as an aside, what you really get from this,
Y tenemos
when
un
you
logro
want
material.
things,
Lo que
when you make these books
verdaderamente
are designed to show
logramos
you how to get things
con el karma marga
by honoring the macrocosmic features of nature that preside over
es
wind, sun, water,
acostumbrarnos
and all the elements,
a honorar
and so forth,
los
and
aspectos
venerating them,
macrocósmicos de la
loving them,
naturaleza y
their secrets, how to get the things that they have.
luego
Sun god
tener
had a lot of
las
light.
riquezas de ellos. O sea,
The wind god
nos acostumbran a
had a
ser
lot of wind.
humildes y
A lot of wind.
a reconocer un poder
And
más,
so
más
forth.
alto, más fuerte, más allá de
So,
nosotros.
They think the idea is that there must be something behind that.
La idea
Something behind that light.
es que
right?
debe haber algo detrás de esa luz.
As there's something behind all the movements of nature.
Así como hay algo
It's
detrás de todos los
consciousness, right?
movimientos de la
There must be a
naturaleza
bigger
material y
manifestation of consciousness.
este algo
I'm in
es la
charge.
conciencia.
I feel it.
Hay conciencia detrás
my
de
body.
cualquier aspecto de la
Okay.
naturaleza material.
I think and then I do something, right? I think and I will and so forth. So this is kind of
Cualquier cosa que nosotros hagamos a nivel personal es porque lo hemos pensado
so
antes.
again, worship of nature and nature
cualquier cosa que se manifiesta a nivel físico es porque hay un ser consciente que primero lo ha imaginado.
New house, whatever, it's a whole. Nigama kalpataro galitam. You're so enamored with the tree of Vedic wisdom,
el verso dice que estamos tan enamorados del árbol de la sabiduría védica.
What would you really get by following it in a rudimentary sense for the pursuance of things, if you will, is that you start to get faith in the text.
Pero
itself.
al mismo tiempo vamos desarrollando fe en los textos védicos mismos. Y este tipo de fe es mucho más importante de cualquier logro material que obtengamos siguiendo las instrucciones de los Vedas.
So whatever you get faith in the text itself, and so you look more deeply into the text, and if you go through it all, you find, oh, there's a beginning.
Entonces vamos a explorar los textos védicos más y nos vamos a dar cuenta de que los Vedas están subdivididos en Purva Mimamsa.
Stop thinking. That's your whole problem. And you're thinking about things. So think about, get them and think about them in this way, and so it's user friendly, right? But as we get faith in this text, we look further, then we come.
Conforme vayamos desarrollando la fe en las escrituras,
now this is the point I'm making.
Vamos a enterarnos de los secretos del ser, de que existe el ser. Entonces, si el alma en ciencia es un secreto, y los Upanishads hablan de esto de forma muy rudimental. ¿Cómo puede ser que el ideal más elevado no va a ser algo privado? Narottam Das Thakur dice que cuando este bhava se manifieste, quédenselo por ustedes, no vayan compartiendo que su progreso espiritual, sus sentimientos espirituales.
That starts to glow in your heart in terms of what your prospect is in relationship with Krishna.
Es como una velita en nuestro corazón que tenemos que guardar para que el viento de nuestro orgullo no la sople. Esto es lo que le pasa a un devoto intermedio en Nishtha. Siguen siendo sadhakas.
In sadhana bhakti, the devotee becomes, everybody starts to like them. They become, let's say, they become likable, very likable. That's if you experience that you're very likable, then that can.
Conforme uno va haciendo progreso espiritual, le va a quedar más y más bien a la gente, y esto puede afectar su orgullo.
So you have to guard that. We have to guard it, that's true, if the light comes. But at the same time, of course, we have to have the candle in there. The candle has to be put in there. So we do need some instruction about it. But even the instruction about it, that's not for
la velita tiene que estar en el corazón y tiene que quedarse encendida y se queda en vida con las instrucciones.
To ask the question means you don't have adhikar to even be in the conversation yourself. And who is the guru that gave you that?
Y el guru no nos va a dar instrucciones, todas las instrucciones a la hora de la
iniciación. What power do you have to do anything about it, with it? What is it causing you to do? Just ask such questions. It should cause you to do one of two things: sit down forever, or get up and go everywhere, and talk about
Cuando nos enteremos de esos secretos, solo dos cosas pueden ocurrir: que nos sentamos y nos quedamos callados o que nos levantemos y lo vayamos a decir a todo el mundo. Vamos a quedar a sentirnos llenos de gratitud.
There's two ways. You just sit down and you become immovable. Bhajananandi or Goshtianandi, you get up.
Entonces esos son los dos resultados. O nos convertimos en un Bhajananandi aislado o un Goshtianandi. Vamos a predicarlo a todo el mundo. ¿Qué es lo que caracteriza nuestro Bhaktivinoda Parivar?
We're all the way back at Brahma, beginning of the Sampradaya, right?
Bueno, volviendo a Brahma y al principio de nuestro Sampradaya, él recibió iniciación hace yugas pasados, pero Krishna no le dio el Siddha Pranali para usar términos corrientes. No le reveló las implicaciones del mantra. Entonces de Brahma pasamos a Madhva.
And Madhvacharya was a great saint from, I can't remember the time, but quite some time back, right? Maybe 1,500 years ago. Madhva, powerful Acharya, Madhvacharya. Some members of the Gaudiya community, they do not acknowledge the connection of our Sampradaya.
Hay algunos Gaudiyas que no reconocen la conexión de Madhva con nuestro Sampradaya.
Or with Brahma, for that matter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts
con Brahma. Dice Chaitanya Mahaprabhu es el jefe de nuestro Sampradaya y ahí está. Pero Bhaktivinoda Thakur, siguiendo a Kavikarnapur, Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushana, que son personas dignas de nuestro seguimiento.
And Madhva is connected to the Brahma Sampradaya, so the connection is there. So we acknowledge that for good reason.
Entonces, si ellos lo ven de esa forma, nosotros también. Pero las enseñanzas son diferentes entre los Madhvas y los Gauriyas. Pero en su Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami dice,
we will draw upon Madhva, foremost Vaishnav in the south,
que entre Ramanuja y Sridhara Swami, nosotros vamos a sacar
y referirnos
a Madhva del sur de la India. Y el Goswami dice, voy a hacer referencia a muchos textos que no tengo, pero sí los encuentro en los escritos de los Madhvas.
And other successors in lineage from Madhva to Vyastirtha to, he mentions 2 or 3 others, and they're who are major contributors in terms of literary contributions, acknowledging the succession of Madhva, and some borrowing from that, some connection with that, ways in which he has only emphasized, ways in which we connect with. But we differ from him in all these ways. These are the 10 ways that we differ from Madhva, and therefore it doesn't, we do have some differences. If we go a little further down the line to Baladev Vidyabhushana, then
Baladev Vidyabhushana,
a couple hundred years later or so, then we find, well, he came from the Madhva Sampradaya.
Después, que originalmente era del Madhva Sampradaya,
and his teaching, it's very much centered on 9, and I'll read them for you to help us appreciate this.
Y ahora les voy a leer sus enseñanzas.
Tenets that are central to Madhva Sampradaya, that are shared.
Los puntos que son céntricos de nuestra Sampradaya y que se ven compartidos con el Madhva Sampradaya.
He says, Baladev says, this is actually a verse from one of the famous acharyas in Madhva line. Lists 9 tenets, and Baladev Vidyabhushana cites it in his Prameya Ratnavali.
Es un verso que Baladev Vidyabhushana cita
points, and these are Gaudiya points. we were together on this. So
en
making the
un
connection.
texto.
Srimad Mate, the opinion of Srimad is Hari Paratamaha.
La
Hari
opinión
is the
de
supreme
Madhva
God.
es que
Hari.
Hari es el Dios supremo.
Hari Bol. No, you say Hari. Hari Bol. Hari. Okay.
Cuando
Satyam
uno dice Haribol,
Jagat Tattvito.
los
And the
otros dicen Hari.
Jagat,
Haribol quiere
the
decir
world,
Di Hari.
is real. It's not an illusion, like Shankar says, it doesn't exist. It's not something that doesn't exist. It exists, it's just not what
No es una
it's
ilusión,
not what
como
it
dice
looks like on the
Shankara, que
surface.
no existe al final.
These are certain prominent points from up and right. Vedo Jiva Gana Hare. There's a Jiva and it's different than Bhagavan.
Luego dice que
There's
el
the
Jiva es diferente de
fire and
Bhagavan,
then there are the sparks, right?
así como hay fuego y hay una
Consciousness.
chispa.
And Anuchar Nijocha Bhavangata says further regarding the Jivas that by nature, by their very nature, they're servants of Bhagavan. They
Y
exist
por su
for the very
naturaleza,
purpose
el Jiva es un
of
sirviente de
serving
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan. That's their dharma, the Jaiva dharma.
Es el dharma del
Jiva's
Jiva,
dharma.
el Jaiva dharma.
It's not purposeless, not meaningless.
Los
As
Jivas
philosophy,
no están sin
prominent philosophy
propósito.
materialism would like us to think. And furthermore, about the Jivas, he says that they're distinct from one another
Es más, cada Jiva es distinta una de la otra,
in terms of their gradation of attainment, and also in terms of their position in this world. Difference by karma, difference by bhakti, they're different. He says,
diferentes por karma y
further,
por bhakti.
Muktir Nija
Están todas en niveles
Sukhanubhutir
diferentes.
Amalu Bhakti Chatat Sadhanam. He says, Mukti is the apprehension of the inherent bliss of the Atma.
Mukti
Realizing the inherent bliss of the Atma
es
that
el
is
logro
attained
de la dicha
by Amal
inherente
Bhakti.
en el Atma,
Pure Bhakti.
que se obtiene con
That
el
is the sadhana.
Bhakti
And
puro.
8, the 3 pramanas are pratyaksha, means
Los tres brahmanas son
what you
pratyaksha,
perceive with your senses. You
lo que
touch it, it's hot,
percibimos con
it's
los
hot.
sentidos, si lo tocamos si es caliente, es
Pramana
caliente.
means how evidence, how you know.
Es la evidencia que nos llega de los
By sense
sentidos.
perception. You can know things. Anuman by inference, by reasoning.
Anuman es
If there's smoke,
deducción.
there must be fire.
Si vemos el
I haven't
humo,
seen the
debe
fire, but
haber
I've seen the
fuego.
smoke. So inference is also valid to an extent. And Shabda, ultimately, revelation, which
Y
trumps the
Shabda
other
es la
two,
revelación.
but doesn't dismiss them entirely, right? And furthermore, the last point, Hari is known in all the scriptures. This is a whole book about these points that could be written. Prema Ratnavali does that to some extent, but just cite them to
Y ese
emphasize
texto
the
de
point.
Baladevi
here.
Bhushan habla de todo
that,
esto hasta un cierto punto.
We have a real, as Gaudiya's connection with the Brahma, with the Madhva Sampradaya. We look to further evidence in the succession coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Does it begin with
Si nos
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
fijamos en la sucesión que empieza con Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Ishvara Puri, we heard about him the other
no
night.
empieza con Chaitanya
He had a
Mahaprabhu.
guru, Madhavendra
Se ve
Puri,
Ishvara
so
Puri,
forth.
que tenía un
And
guru,
we can trace in
Madhavendra
them
Puri,
out,
etcétera,
our-
etcétera.
it was common at the time that thought that the Madhva branch had deputed some to preach in Bengal. Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, they were prominent in Bengal. And in Bengal sector, they were
Madhavendra
considered
Puri e Ishvara
the
Puri
members of the Madhva lineage. Now,
eran muy conocidos en Bengal
someone might
y allá se
question,
les conocía como
Yeah.
miembros del
how can
linaje de
Madhavendra
Madhva.
Puri, Ishwar Puri be members of the Madhva Sampradaya when all the sannyasins are given the name Tirtha?
Entonces uno se podría preguntar cómo es que tienen nombre
Ishwar
Puri
Tirtha.
si los
Tirtha is one of
sannyasis
the
del Madhva
sannyasis.
Sampradaya
Puri is one
tienen
of the
nombre
sannyasis,
Tirtha.
but all of the members of the Madhva Sampradaya who are initiated in sannyas, they get the title Tirtha. Therefore, where's your connection with the Madhva?
Entonces, ¿dónde está
Well,
la
now we
conexión con el
start to
mantra?
segue into a very interesting notion of Guru Parampara, which is like this unbroken chain, right? Unbroken line comes down one, another. But Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj very artfully and poetically said, it moves in a crooked way.
Siempre se habla de esta cadena discipular ininterrupta, pero Sridhar Maharaj dice que se mueve en forma
This is a
a zigzag,
concept of Guru
porque
Parampara that was very much promoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the successor of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that some members of the
ese
Gaudiya
concepto de
community
Bhaktisiddhanta
take
y de
exception to the
Bhaktivinoda.
mantra about. It's been named in different ways, like the Bhagavad Guru Parampara. And I've heard people say, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? I don't even know what it means. Well, I'll tell you what it means here, and it doesn't begin with Bhaktisiddhanta. It means in relation to the point I'm just raising, or the question that's raised by some. Well, if Madhavendra Puri is from the Madhva line, why is he named Puri? Because there are different ways to be connected with the Madhva line or any line. How is that? I
Entonces,
might have got my diksha here.
estos Ishwarapuri y Manjwarapuri tenían formas diferentes de conectarse
There
con
are a
el
number of
Sampradaya.
members of the Shankar's Math, the monastery in Puri, Govardhan Math.
En Puri había muchos miembros de la Math de Jagannath Puri que eran de Shankara.
And in that particular, the four monasteries of Shankar, this one emphasizes bhakti,
Y de
not
los
as a goal,
cuatro
but as a way.
monasterios de Shankara, este de Puri
Right? You should have to have some
enfatiza
bhakti,
el
and that will
bhakti.
help you get mukti.
No el bhakti como lo
Of course,
entendemos
we
nosotros,
reason if bhakti can give mukti,
pero con la idea de que bhakti ayuda a
what's
lograr el
bhakti then?
mukti.
If I've got something
Pero
I can
nosotros
give you,
decimos, si
and
bhakti
I
tiene
figure
poder
that
de
you accept.
de dar mukti, debe
Mukti
ser algo
can't give bhakti,
importante.
but
Mukti
bhakti
no
can
puede
give
dar el
mukti.
bhakti, pero el bhakti
So,
puede dar el mukti.
Mukti must be inside of bhakti. But there are types of mukti in which there's no bhakti. Right? Or just a little forgotten, I should say. There's no mukti without anyone.
No hay casos de
anyway,
gente que logra el mukti sin una pizca de bhakti.
Members of that sampradaya was
Entonces, un
common
miembro
at
de
the
ese
time.
sampradaya era muy común
Shankar was
en ese
prominent.
entonces.
That someone would take
Había
sannyas from
sannyasis de
Shankar
Shankara
lineage.
por todos lados.
What's an example? In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. Can anybody think of an example?
En la época de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ¿quién
Sure,
puede
Chaitanya
pensar en
Mahaprabhu
algún
himself.
ejemplo?
He took initiation from Keshava Bharati, who's in the
Keshav
Shankar
Bharati es el
line.
sannyas guru de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mismo.
And Paramananda Puri.
Paramananda Puri.
There was 9 of them.
Hay 9 de
Ishvara
ellos.
Puri, one of them.
Ishvara Puri es uno de ellos, que son las raíces del amor, del árbol del amor de Dios, que es Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Las raíces son el prema y las ramas son los devotos.
Not looking within rather than out for one's wealth, outside for one's wealth, right? So members of that
Entonces, miembros de este
very
mar,
prominent one time was in charge of the whole monastery. He was the famous Sridhar Swami, commentator on the Bhagavatam, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had so much regard for. What happened to him was that he was initiated in that school, but he himself became attracted
el
to
templo de
bhakti.
Jagannath siempre estuvo bajo el cuidado de los Shankaritas. Sridhar Maharaj, Sridhar Swami, para quien Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tenía tanta reverencia, era uno que se veía iniciado en este linaje, pero empezó a hablar en términos de bhakti. Entonces, Madhavendra Puri logró como sannyas en el linaje de Shankara. Y eso le pasó a todos los sannyasis asociados de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Keshav Bharati le estaba dando el sannyas mantra a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, y Mahaprabhu le dijo justo antes, ¿es este el mantra que me vas a dar? Entonces Mahaprabhu le inició a Keshav Bharati, confiriéndole la semilla del bhakti, y luego cuando Keshav Bharati lo inició, era ya...
And take it back himself, right? So So what to speak of Madhavendra Puri or Ishwar Puri or the Sridhar Swami? Madhva himself was initiated in the Advaita line. He was a disciple of an Advaita.
Madhva mismo
But when Advaita
tomó iniciación
gave
en el
certain
linaje Advaita.
explanations, he could not tolerate them. After all, who is Madhva? That's another thing. Bhima, a friend of Krishna, if you like.
Madhvacharya se considera una encarnación de Bhima, que es un amigo de Krishna. Entonces, ¿cómo pudo Madhvacharya quedarse conforme con las enseñanzas de la Advaita Vedanta?
The complicated theological person of Madhva. And Madhva rejected what he was being taught. He wrote his own commentary, which was rejected. So he took it to the mountain, right? He went to the Himalaya.
Entonces Madhva, con su propio comentario, se fue al Himalaya.
There he met Vyas, who's still there.
Y allá encontró a Vyas.
Too close to China.
Ahora no podemos ir a este lugar porque está demasiado cerca de China. De todos modos, si fuéramos, no encontráramos a Vyasadeva porque es algo interior.
And he approved of it. This is an article of faith in the Madhva Sampradaya, right? So Madhva has his own lineage, like this. So what am I saying here? That we can
fue así que Madhva
answer to the argument. How can Madhva
su propio
be in
linaje.
connection with the Madhva Sampradaya? By Siksha. By Siksha.
Entonces la conexión que tenemos con el Madhva Sampradaya es a través de Shiksha.
And or
La
Siksha.
conexión
Obviously, you're
puede
not going
venir
to
a
take
través
Diksha
de
without
Diksha
Siksha. Diksha means
o
initiation. You're not going to
Shiksha.
take initiation without having heard some instructions, advice, having seen an example, having had your faith captured. And then creating a problem for the preceptor. You've captured my faith, as Buddha said. Now I capture you. You have to give me the mantra. You have to share with me. You have to
Primero el guru
take
captura
me
nuestra
with me,
fe
right?
y luego nosotros le capturamos a él. Nos tiene que dar el mantra.
And in Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have room for one Diksha Guru, but you can have more than one Diksha Guru.
En el
Depends how you
Gaudiya Sampradaya tenemos
interpret
campo para un Diksha
the
Guru,
term.
pero podemos tener
Diksha
más de un
Guru
Shiksha
has
Guru.
different interpretation, a very strict interpretation and a broader
Hay una
interpretation. In the
interpretación
broadest interpretation, we
del
find in the
concepto de
Bhagavatam,
Shiksha Guru
where in the
más
11th
amplia y
canto,
una más estricta.
Avadut had so many gurus. The river was his guru. The bumblebee was his guru.
El Avadhuta del onceavo
Fig tree
canto
was
del
his guru,
Bhagavatam
so
tenía
forth.
24 gurus.
He learned from all of
La
them.
abeja, el
He
viento,
got his initiation, and then he saw his guru.
Primero
Nature was speaking to him.
tomó
Goswami says they were all
iniciación
his
y
Siksha
luego
gurus.
empezó a ver
So, in the broad
a
sense,
los
right?
Shiksha Gurus en todos
They were teaching him
lugares,
something,
que
giving
le daban
instructions.
enseñanzas e instrucciones.
He was able to draw instructions out of what they were
Pero
doing.
él tenía la habilidad de sacar las instrucciones
So we
gracias
have a role to play
a
in
su
all
Diksha
this,
Guru.
ourselves as disciples, right?
Nosotros, ese es el rol que
So-
tenemos como discípulo.
I'm giving some precedent for what we're ultimately getting to, which is the Gaudiya side of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and within that,
Entonces, Brahma
our
Madhva Gaudiya
particular
Sampradaya.
Bhakti-Vinod Parivar.
Y dentro de
So,
todo esto, nosotros somos parte del
What do we
Bhakti
mean by
Parivar.
that?
¿Qué quiere decir?
Because it's a little different. Is
Eso
it
es algo diferente.
Protestantism proposed, or is it Catholic? Using the terms in a general sense, that's the question. So if the thought is being Protestant, being a little against a little Lutheran, form,
No se entiende. Está hablando de católicos y protestantes.
because some people, or those who think like this, were the very cause for the dispensation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Negative impetus, I should say, the negative impetus for their whole mission, which we're all a product of.
Algunas personas
Misunderstanding Gaudiya
le
Vaishnavism,
dieron
misunderstanding
ímpetu a Bhaktivinoda
details
Thakur
for principles, misconstruing details, thinking that they were principles, thinking that higher things weren't as high as they were.
le dieron un ímpetu
As we
negativo
talked earlier,
para que Bhaktivinoda Thakur y Bhaktisiddhanta empezaran a
in
predicar
our
como
particular
predicaban,
lineage, we were
predicaron
taught
debido
as
al mal ejemplo que daban
to
otros.
revere the higher aspects of the tradition, that they may reveal themselves to us, rather than we're going to go there with our shoes on and just grab it. No. I'll go into that a little bit here. I know we've all talked for a while, but it is.
Bueno, he estado hablando durante un rato.
During the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Sampradaya, Gaudiya Sampradaya, with its many different lineages.
En la época de Bhaktivinoda Thakur, el Gaudiya Sampradaya,
Goswami, as may be the case,
había muchos linajes que originaban de Rupa Goswami, este Thakur, el otro.
Ecstasy and love of God that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personified. These currents, if you will,
Y esas corrientes,
over time, becoming
con el pasar del tiempo,
more lifeless, less vital.
se quedaron
How could it be?
menos y menos
Well, let's turn to
vitales,
the Bhagavad Gita.
con menos y menos
Very
vitalidad.
basic text. Evam parampara praptam imam rajash sakalena mahata yoganashta prantaka. Krishna's already answered the question. It says yoganashta prantaka. Oh, great warrior Arjuna.
Krishna le dice
Don't be
a
worried about
Arjuna,
that. The
gran
nature of
guerrero,
this,
no te preocupes.
this succession, parampara, means
La
one
naturaleza
after
de este
another.
parampara
That's what it
quiere
means.
decir uno tras el otro.
One after another. So if you don't have one that comes after, or another that comes after the one, then you don't have the parampara. The solution to a problem in the parampara, for example, it's losing some vitality by kalena, which is by time, by the influence of
Con el
time.
pasar con la influencia del tiempo,
The current is there, and sometimes it will recede, and sometimes it will come like a tidal wave, like in the form of my Guru Maharaj. And
la corriente a veces
sometimes it will recede,
se calma y a veces
sometimes
llega
like a
como un
tidal
tsunami,
wave,
como en el
and
caso de
sometimes
Srila
it will
Prabhupada.
spread everywhere, and so forth, right? So this is just this is the influence of time. Yoga Nashta, the teaching
Entonces,
becomes
debido al pasar
obscured.
del tiempo, las enseñanzas se quedan
Maybe it's
oscuradas,
misrepresented even.
hasta malinterpretadas.
Lineages. But throughout the world is powerful. And, well, bhakti is easy and powerful. It's not so easy.
El bhakti es sencillo y poderoso, pero no es fácil aplicarse en ese modo del bhakti y quedarse.
Can't trace that out. So,
mientras el karma es anadi, no tiene inicio.
So the time of Bhakti Vinod, Gaudiya Vaishnavism was not as vital.
En la época de Bhaktivinoda Thakur, el Vaishnavismo Gaudiya no tenía la vitalidad que tenía en el pasado, y por ende él mismo,
here is a very educated and deeply religious person, Kedarnath.
Antes de su iniciación, Kedarnath Das no había entendido lo que era el Vaishnavismo Gaudiya. Aunque fuera una persona muy religiosa y con mucho conocimiento.
Educated, pious sector of Bengal and Calcutta, which is the capital of the British in India. The whole of modernity had completely come.
En esa época Calcuta era la capital del Imperio Británico en la India.
In Calcutta, West Bengal. It's not like the European insights and so forth about life, its purpose, its meaning, and whatnot. Science was unknown. When, for example, the Copernican revolution took place
No es que no se
in
conocieran
Europe,
los...
and it was determined that the Earth is moving around the sun rather than
No es que el conocimiento occidental no hubiese llegado a, no había llegado a la India. Por ejemplo, se dice que cuando Copérnico se vino con su teoría heliocéntrica, es algo increíblemente grande, porque la gente pensaba que la Tierra estaba al centro del universo, en el centro del universo, y ahora Copérnico demuestra que es el Sol.
Anyway, earth shaking, and meanwhile in India, the traditionalists,
mientras tanto en la India,
all
los
had a Quranic
tradicionalistas
perspective, which was different than the
se
heliocentric
quedaron
perspective.
con la
Some
perspectiva
had to
de los
deal with it, some
Puranas.
ignored it, some had to deal with it, some started to compromise.
Algunos
And
empezaron a hacer
at the time,
compromisos,
when this was going
algunos se
on,
quedaron con la
it was
teoría de
notable,
los
or it has been
Puranas.
noted by scholars, that the Vrindavan Goswamis didn't pay any attention
Pero los
to it.
Goswamis
They
de
didn't-
Vrindavan no le
and
hicieron
I would
caso
reason
para
they
nada.
didn't have time for it.
O sea que no tenían
Because while
tiempo
this
para
whole
esto.
controversy was going on, is the earth moving around the
Toda
sun?
esta
or the sun moving
controversia
around
de
the
que
earth?
si la Tierra gira alrededor del Sol
Our
o el
Puranas
Sol
seem to say
alrededor de
one
la
thing, and
Tierra.
then these people are saying the opposite thing, and they got measurements to prove it, and so forth. But does the Purana really say that? That's another thing. Anyway, so this was going on, right? But
Y otra pregunta es verdad que los Puranas dicen que la Tierra está en el centro? Porque esa es otra cosa, pero no lo vamos a discutir.
They were busy with the whole world, the sun included, is moving around the Atma.
Porque los Goswamis estaban más preocupados con otro concepto, que todo el mundo no gira alrededor de la Tierra ni del Sol, sino alrededor del Atma.
And Krishna is circumambulating Radha with great reverence.
Y el
That's what we're
Atma,
trying to tell people.
digamos que
Well, we don't have time
gira en torno al Paramatma, y el Paramatma alrededor
We're
de
involved in the revolution of our
Radha y
all
Krishna.
revolutions are getting going round and round. And we're trying to teach people that the Gramya Katha, the gossip of Braj, is a solution to the whole
Nosotros decimos que
problem
los chismes de
of
Braja
gossip
son la
in the world,
solución
right? It's meaningless.
a todos los prajalpas del
Chit-chat,
mundo material que
anyway,
no tienen
so,
significado.
But by the time of Bhaktivinoda, the point is, you couldn't escape dealing with modern European conceptions. They set up a capital there in India, in Calcutta. So there was a think tank and educated people, Rabindranath Tagore, who won the Nobel Prize, who had exchange with Einstein. So it was one of the people who came and recited his poetry for Bhaktivinoda. After Bhaktivinoda became a Vaishnava. And Bhaktisiddhanta was in the presence. They appreciate some of his songs and so forth. A big person. So I'm just saying, Bhaktivinoda was a prominent person. If
Entonces, Bhaktivinoda
we
Thakur
should,
era una
we
persona muy
understand the history of
importante en su
Bengal to be
época.
two periods, pre-Chaitanya and post-Chaitanya. That is West Bengal. How
El Bengal
significant
se
Chaitanya
considera en
Mahaprabhu is.
pre-Chaitanya y post-Chaitanya.
Pre-Chaitanya and post-Chaitanya. And there is no, as important as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, there is no person who is more important in modern times in post-Chaitanya West Bengal in terms of what Gaudiya Vaishnavism than Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Y en la era post-Chaitanya no hay nadie más importante que Bhaktivinoda
It's
Thakur.
mind-boggling how prominent and important he was.
Es espeluznante lo prominente, lo importante que era.
That he put out,
La cantidad de literatura
for
que
Navadvip
produjo,
Dham, to excavate the places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, like the Goswamis did in Vrindavan, under the direction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, it's
también
just
escarbó todos los lugares
but the point I'm making is
de
that
Chaitanya Lila,
he wasn't a
Navadvip,
Vaishnava.
etc.
He wasn't interested in all this Gaudiya stuff.
Pero él no era inicialmente
which
un
tells us that
Vaishnava, no tenía
it
interés en todas
wasn't
estas
really
cosas Gaudiya.
vital in Bengal.
Para que se enteren de la poca vitalidad que tenía el movimiento Gaudiya en Bengal, donde originó.
Some of its vitality had been taken out, and it was misrepresented, and so educated, pious people were turning away from it.
Entonces la gente, los
And
académicos del
maybe
tiempo, no le
reinterpreting
tenían
the Krishna of the Srimad
ningún
Bhagavatam.
interés
Let's take him out of the
en
Bhagavatam. Let's
el
keep him on that
Vaishnavismo
chair reading
Gaudiya.
the Bhagavad Gita there, where he sounds more like, like a sage rather than a
Y además, debido a la influencia británica y católica, la gente empezó a alejarse del Krishna de raza viva y le hacía más caso al Krishna del Bhagavad Gita, sentado en un carro, hablando de sabiduría, filosofía védica.
Perspective that many people began to shrink as a result away from the core Gaudiya Vaishnavism and the central book of the whole Sampradaya, the Bhagavad. Sure, there were some sadhus and bhagavas here and there, and they're out back somewhere.
Claro, había sadhus y gente auténtica,
they just stayed in the Dham,
pero se quedaban en el
which is
Dhamma,
advisable. Rupa Goswami advised it, right?
que es lo
One
que
of the most powerful
aconseja Rupa
angas of Bhakti
Goswami,
live in the Dham and practice Bhakti.
uno de los sangas del Bhakti más poderosos, vivirse en el Dhamma,
So they
pero
stayed
Calcuta,
there. Of course,
¿cómo se van a ir a Calcuta para qué?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went everywhere.
Pero Chaitanya Mahaprabhu se fue
That's
para
your
todos lados.
right? But the Sampradaya was not active in that way. And
El
then,
Sampradaya no
and
estaba
then for
activo
that
de
matter,
esta
even
forma.
in the Dham, in the
Y también en el
sacred
Dhamma,
realms, Gaudiya Vaishnava, Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan,
Vrindavan, Puri,
Navadvip,
Navadvip,
the most visible forms
las formas
for
más
Gaudiya
visibles
Vaishnavism was not compelling to educated people.
del Vaishnavismo Gaudiya
And
no le llamaba la atención a la
ultimately, Bhakti
gente
came to the
instruida.
conclusion that when he converted to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, when he
Pero
began to see
cuando
the
Bhaktivinoda Thakur
Bhagavad
se
through the eyes
convirtió
of
al Vaishnavismo
Krishnadas
Gaudiya
Kaviraj Goswami,
y empezó a ver el Bhagavatam
then
con los ojos
he
de Krishnadas
centered
Kaviraj Goswami,
on what the teachings were really about and identified why it was not vital because it was being misrepresented.
se
in so many
fijó
ways.
en lo que verdaderamente eran
so
las
many
enseñanzas.
Rules were given. You have to take initiation here because I come from a family of Nityananda Prabhu or maybe.
Y vio que había un problema
And you
con
have to get a
estos
letter from me that
linajes que
says you
decían que tenías que
initiated
tomar iniciación,
and tested.
todas estas reglas de esta
Considered
familia
Nali for
porque
me,
nosotros descendemos
and,
de este asociado y tal.
if you want to know, if you want a Swarup and Goloka, you have to come be my disciple here. And
Si
then
quieres esta
they would
sorupa,
get a
tienes
support from
que
this. It
ser
became
mi
a little bit of
discípulo.
a business transaction.
O sea, que le
Selling
hicieron de todo esto un
marketing Swarups for uneducated
el
people.
mercado de las sorupas para gente
But Bhakti Vinod was an educated person.
sin
This was
educación.
turning him off.
Pero
But when he
Bhaktivinoda
had,
Thakur sí
so
tenía
he didn't,
educación.
wasn't interested in their books. But when he came across Chaitanya Charitamrita and read it for himself,
Cuando él leyó
he had
el
a different
Chaitanya Charitamrita y lo leyó,
and this is the beginning of what we call the Bhakti Parivar. He took initiation in the
esto fue el
Nityananda
principio
Parivar
del
coming from
Bhaktivinoda Parivar. Tomó iniciación
the
en
line
el
of
Nityananda
Janava.
Vamsha,
He became
en el
prominent after
linaje
the
de
passing of
Vaishnava Devi.
Nityananda, her line. And while he took initiation in that line from Bipin Bihari Goswami, there were things about Bipin Bihari Goswami that
Pero aunque tomó iniciación en
were
ese
a little troublesome.
linaje a través de Bipin Bihari Goswami, había cosas que
Much appreciation for Bhakti Vinod, what he was doing. It was extraordinary. In the midst of fathering like 12 or 14 children, he wrote over 100 books about Gaudiya Vaishnavas. In the midst of having a job as a
tomen en
magistrate
cuenta que
British,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur tenía un trabajo como
government,
magistrato en
all
el
of his
gobierno
spare
inglés,
time
tenía 10
into the
hijos
night and early morning hours,
y en su tiempo libre,
writing and
bueno, de noche,
making arrangements to protect pilgrims
se
and
puso
disseminate Gaudiya
a
Vaishnavas and so forth.
escribir, a organizar para que los peregrinos
Very
no estuvieran
extraordinary
estorbados por los bandidos durante el parikrama. o peregrinajes.
So powerful person, educated
Entonces,
person.
muy poderoso, muy instruido.
And he, yes, he took initiation with Bihari Goswami throughout his texts. He
Sí tomó
respects
iniciación por
Goswami,
Bikram
but
Bihari Goswami,
people
pero
complained. This
la
is
gente
right
se
there in
quejaba.
biographical notes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Eso se ve en las notas biográficas de Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
They were living with Bikram Bihari Goswami, and some people would come and complain to Bhakti Vinod, why your guru is to eat tobacco and pan and these things are not typically not,
Se quejaban
small
porque
things, but
su guru
and so Bhakti
masticaba
Vinod, yes, I hope he will
tabaco.
give that up. Continue to respect his guru, but hope he will give that up. So this is just one example. There are other examples that caused Bhakti Siddhanta to think we are finding something in Bhakti Vinod that is not in Bikram Bihari Goswami.
Y hay otros ejemplos, y fue esto que hizo que Bhaktisiddhanta pensó, nosotros estamos encontrando algo en Bhakti Vinod que no se encuentra en Bikram Bihari Goswami.
Extraordinary spiritual figure.
Él de por sí es una figura espiritual muy poderosa. Y con el pasar del tiempo,
the relationship between Bikram Bihari Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
la relación entre Bikram Bihari Goswami y Bhaktivinoda Thakur se hizo más distante, y Jagannath Das Babaji se hizo más importante en su vida.
To this effect. And Jagannath Das Babaji, well, let's put it like this, he didn't chew tobacco.
Jagannath Das Babaji, bueno, pongámoslo así, él no masticaba tabaco.
From the visible, largely visible, formal world of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which were the households or families, Brahmins, caste Goswamis, who were giving form and shape to what it means to be
Gaudiya Vaishnava, o sea, no venía de una de estas familias de los descendientes de los asociados.
Those things were relative. How did we begin our talk? What did we find? Did it say there you have to have a Diksha Patra? That will be the part of initiation. You'll have to be told what your swarup is in Goloka.
Ahí en el sistema de ellos, a la hora de la iniciación, había que firmar una carta de iniciación como un documento que decía quién iba a tomar iniciación, por quién, en qué linaje, todo muy oficial.
The central Diksha mantra of our sampradaya, that was what we started with, right? The Brahma received from Krishna. Everything in there. And of course, the name of Krishna. The mantra is made up of names of Krishna. Krishnaya, Govindaya.
El mantra de la iniciación está hecho de nombres de Krishna. Krishna, Govinda, Gopi, Janavallabha.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself
Entonces, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mismo
is an example of what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talked about when he spoke about his conception of the Guru Parampara. That somebody think, what is that? Bhagavad Guru Parampara? We've heard of such a thing. That it moves in a crooked way like this? As Sridhar said. Yes. So he took his initiation from the Nityananda Parivar, one of the Parivars of Nityananda Prabhu, and from Bikram Bihari Goswami. But some distance was created at a certain point and it was made up for in terms of Guru Parampara and connection to the Siksha of Jagannath.
Pero se había creado una
distancia. Also remember another line in the Nityananda Parivar. And he advised his son Bhaktivinoda Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to take initiation from Gaurkishore Das Babaji, another avadut out of the world figure who gave initiation and didn't give him a letter. Didn't give him a list of who everybody is in their line and so forth. And he was coming from the Advaita Parivar.
Él venía de la Advaita Parivar.
I heard someone say the other day, well, Jagannath Das Babaji is from the Nityananda Parivar. They wear a certain tilak like this.
Alguien dijo, Jagannath Das Babaji tiene un cierto tipo de
Gaurkishore is from the Advaita Parivar. He wears the Advaita tilak. They're going to different places
el Advaita tilak.
in Nityananda Dweep and Goloka. They don't.
Entonces,
you follow when you go to
En
that
Nitya
place.
Navadvip
You
o
don't
en
interact with that
Goloka
guy over there.
se van a acabar en
And
lugares
like,
distintos.
this is just like kind of insanity.
Esto es pura estupidez.
He's trying to dismiss the idea that, well, you can have a substantial connection. You might be initiated in this line, you could have a substantial connection with another in another line. If you, there aren't such rules that prohibit the.
No hay ninguna regla que prohíba
sadhu's
una
extending his mercy
conexión
and grace,
significativa,
or being
sustancial,
who he or she is, that it is an embodiment of something
debido a que el sadhu es la encarnación de la beatitud que ellos mismos sienten y que irradian con su propia presencia.
So this is a real thing. If you can have a
Esto
real and substantial connection
es
to
una
the
conexión
sampradaya,
real y
unbroken
sustancial
chain
del sampradaya, que es una cadena ininterrupta.
Through diksha. We don't dismiss the diksha, we
A través del
emphasize
diksha,
it, right?
nosotros no descartamos el diksha.
More than anybody. But the fact that it may be, it will be strengthened by diksha, that may come from another figure. Typically it doesn't. Our diksha guru is our diksha
Pero el
guru.
diksha,
But
la vida espiritual de alguien se puede fortalecer con diksha que pueda venir de otro linaje. Normalmente no es así.
And so there's a lot of overlay and so on, and that's good. Yeah, that's good. So this was, in brief, something about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's idea when he said, here's my line, it goes like this, and he mentions all these prominent persons.
Entonces es por eso que el linaje, así como
aren't necessarily connected to one another by diksha. Lo
imaginó, lo recopiló Bhaktisiddhanta, pasa de un linaje a otro porque es una Shiksha Guru Parampara, no Diksha Guru.
Well, a few hundred years anyway, a few hundred years modern science, right? Then we're not going to list every scientist.
Así como en el mundo científico no vamos a nombrar todos los científicos, sino los más importantes. La ciencia, según la concepción de Newton, luego de Einstein. Luego, ¿cómo se llama el otro? Tesla. No se puede nombrar cada uno, no es por falta de respeto, sino entonces tampoco tenemos que tener un listado de todos los gurús en el linaje.
Well, that list is going to turn into a book in 10,000 years, how many names are there going to be? It's a little impractical.
Esta carta de la iniciación de que hablan en 10,000 años se va a convertir en un libro. Y no tiene nada que ver con la sustancia.
If you take a leaf from one tree over here, it's fallen, and you taste it, and you're in a distant place and you find a leaf. It's not related to the tree, but it's on the ground, looks the same, but it tastes the same. You know it came from the same tree. If it tastes the same, you know it came from the same tree.
Si nosotros
when I met Sridhar Maharaj, I knew it's the same tree. This is the same tree.
Reconocemos una hoja de un árbol que no es de nuestra zona, pero si en la misma hoja se ve igual, tiene el mismo sabor, es del mismo árbol. Así me sentí yo cuando crucé a Sridhar Maharaj. Yo tengo una mentalidad muy independiente. Pero Prabhupada me podía controlar completamente. Y yo, como predicador, tenía el poder de hacer que la gente se volteara cuando hablaba yo, de llamar la atención a la gente, Pero Prabhupada me giraba mi cabeza, hacía que yo quedara como,
Right? So it was quite startling to me when Prabhupada left and I came under the shelter of Sridhar Maharaj, because I felt no one can do this.
Entonces, cuando Prabhupada desapareció, yo tenía la convicción de que nadie podía hablar de la misma forma. Pero Sridhar Maharaj y Prabhupada eran dos hojas del mismo árbol.
Yes, the same teaching, Siksha Guru. So I have the same experience. Right? So
entonces yo también tengo la experiencia de un Siksha Guru.
Both strong current of Sakyaras and Madhurya Rasa also, right? And this is a very practical reality. We see it in the life of Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Tengo la conexión con la corriente de Sakya Rasa y del otro con Madhurya Rasa.
Initiation of Gorkashordas Babaji, and Babaji was not except by one of the caste Goswamis. He didn't have a whole setup, disciples to maintain him, and he was stored. So if you want to criticize Bhakti Siddhanta for not getting a Diksha Patra,
si quieren criticar a Bhaktisiddhanta por no lograr este Diksha Patra, hablen con Gorkishore, que le dijo, tu Swarupa se va a realizar en las sílabas del Mahamantra. Le dijo otras cosas, pero esta es la instrucción principal.
Which is the whole central focus of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching.
El Hari Kirtan es el enfoque central de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
The wealth, the prem, Goloka, Premodhan, Harinam Sankirtan. I mean, can't get it's very simple poem narrative. The Dhan, the wealth of Goloka, which is its prem, has been exported.
El tesoro de Goloka ha sido exportado a este mundo a través de Nam Sankirtan. Entonces, si nos enfocamos en el nombre, en su poema, Vaishnav Ke, Bhaktisiddhanta, que había cantado 1,000 millones de nombres durante 9 años, escribió este poema. Oh mente mía, ¿qué tipo de Vaishnava eres? Aparentas como un devoto, pero estás pensando en esto y en el otro.
Get up, do kirtan. And by the power of kirtan, Smarana will come.
Por el poder de Kirtan, el Smarana va a
meditation is not something. I think I'll sit and meditate. It's not like really quite like that. It's not something you think about meditation. It's just not thinking. It requires a pure heart, because if your heart is full of desires, and
la meditación requiere un corazón puro.
Chase after them, so forth. So by the power of kirtan. So he therefore organized this campaign.
Entonces, por el poder de Kirtan,
for worldwide dissemination. Bhakti Vinod he couldn't ignore modernity like the Goswamis could. It was right at his doorstep, right? Capital of the British. So they're such a powerful person, influential person. He took the Gaudiya Vaishnavism and interfaced with the modern world and sent Gaudiya Vaishnavism all over the world. As Pushpa Maharaj said, the idea came in Bhakti Vinod.
Como dice Sridhar Maharaj, la idea vino en Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta le dio forma y Bhaktivedanta la llevó a todo el mundo.
Today. And I'm very fortunate to be in your company.
No somos, y me siento muy afortunado estar en la compañía de ustedes.
Possibly go another direction, but not possibly deviate by the force of your friendliness. Somebody said to me, one of my disciples, happy Guru Puja. I said, it's happy because I have disciples like you.
Alguien me escribió hoy, feliz Guru Puja, y yo les dije, es una ocasión feliz porque tengo a ustedes.
What's next?
We're going to have Guru Puja now. So everybody we have flour.
Bueno, ahora va a haber Guru Puja.
we're gonna stand up, yes.
Bueno, yo también tengo que ir a hacer el Guru Puja aquí. Pueden ver la versión en inglés si quieren asistir.